If you've ever tried heart rate training to improve your running, you know one of the hardest parts is keeping your heart rate low. Running slow, staying relaxed, and keeping your effort in your aerobic zone can literally feel so challenging, especially when you're just getting started. But these long, slow runs are the key to building endurance. They help you run faster for longer without getting as tired. That's why learning to control your heart rate is such an important skill. Whether you're using heart rate to keep your long runs easy or following the Maffetone training to build your aerobic base, there are a few simple steps and tips that can help you. In this video, I'll share how to get more comfortable running with a low heart rate. First, try avoiding running during the hottest parts of the day. If you can run early in the morning or later in the evening when it's cooler, your body will have an easier time staying comfortable. When your body starts to overheat, your heart has to work harder, pump more blood to your skin to help release heat. And this can push your heart rate higher than normal. By planning your runs during cooler times of the day, you can avoid this problem and keep your heart rate more under control. Dehydration is another reason your heart rate can rise while running. When you're dehydrated, your blood volume drops slightly, and this makes your heart work harder and beat faster to deliver oxygen to your muscles. Now, this can also lead to something called cardiac drift. And cardiac drift is when your heart rate rises during a run, even though your pace is the same. Heat and dehydration are two main causes of this. To slow down and prolong cardiac drift, stay well hydrated, keep your efforts truly easy, running at a relaxed pace, staying cool, and taking fluids on longer runs can help delay the rise in heart rate. By doing this, you can stay in your aerobic zone longer and get more benefit from your low heart rate runs. Now here's a quick list to keep you on track, something that I've used. Start your run well hydrated. Run at a truly easy, relaxed pace and avoid the hottest parts of the day. Stay cool when possible. Make sure you take fluids on your longer runs and don't chase pace. Let heart rate lead. The goal isn't to stop cardiac drift completely. It's to slow it down so you can stay aerobic longer. The more you run, the drift will happen later and later. You will become fitter and fitter. Look, everyone is a little different, but as a rough guide, aim to drink about 4 to 6 ounces of fluid every 20 minutes while you're running. This gives your body a steady supply of fluids instead of trying to catch up later. On longer runs, it's important not to wait until you feel thirsty before you start drinking. When you feel thirsty, your body is already dehydrated. That thirst feeling is the signal your body sends when it has already lost fluid than it needs. By drinking small amounts regularly, you keep your blood volume steady, and this makes it easier for your heart to pump blood without working so hard. Staying on top of hydration can help slow cardiac drift and make it easier to keep your heart rate low throughout your run. While we're talking about drinks, here's one for the coffee lovers. There's nothing wrong with having a coffee before your morning run. For many runners, though, it's part of the routine. Just remember, caffeine is a stimulant. Depending on how much you drink and how sensitive you are to it, caffeine can raise your heart rate, and this can make it harder to stay in the low heart rate zone, even if your pace feels easy. If you're a runner who struggles to keep your heart rate low and you drink a lot of caffeine, it can be worth experimenting. Try doing a few runs without caffeine for several hours before heading out the door, or maybe you just kind of put it off and have it later. Pay attention to your heart, how your heart responds. You might find it easier to keep your effort relaxed and your heart under control. Testing? Now, once you're out running, pay attention to your breathing. If you notice you're breathing fast and shallow, or it feels like air is only going into your upper chest, it's a sign you may be pushing the effort a little too hard. When that happens, slow your pace down, focus on taking deep, calm breaths. Try to breathe through your belly instead of just your chest. Slower, steady breathing can help your body relax, make it easier to keep your heart rate low. Consciously slow your breathing and focus on belly breathing. Try taking full, deep breaths instead of short, shallow ones. You should feel your stomach rise as you breathe in, not just your chest. This slow, controlled breathing helps your body relax, and it can help lower stress and help bring your heart rate down. When you control your breathing, you also control your effort, and that makes it much easier to stay in your aerobic zone and keep your heart rate steady while you run. If you've tried everything so far and you're still struggling to keep your heart rate low, look, that's okay. There is nothing wrong with using a run-walk method, okay? It's a good strategy to have. You can plan short walk breaks during your run, and these breaks give your heart time to drop back down into your aerobic zone before you start running again. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a smart way to train. Over time, you'll find that you'll need fewer walk breaks as your aerobic fitness improves. The goal? It's not to run nonstop. The goal is to stay in the right heart rate zone and build your endurance the right way. If you're finding it hard to keep your heart rate low and in your zone, try using short run-walk intervals. You could start with a simple pattern like 3 minutes of running followed by 1 minute of walking. That's how I started. Over time, slowly increase the running time, move from 3 minutes to 5, then 7, then eventually work towards 9. Maybe 10 minutes of running with 1 minute of walking. Even if your heart rate rises during each run session, that 1 minute walk gives it time to drop back down, and it helps you regain control before you start running again. Look, there's many successful runners that have used this method, and it's not a step backwards. It's actually smart training. The key is to leave your ego at the door before you leave the house and listen to your body and trust the process. Now, running up hills can quickly cause your heart rate to spike, even if you're trying to keep your pace very slow. The problem is, once your heart rate jumps on a hill, it can be hard to bring it back down again to where it was before. You may find yourself spending the rest of your run trying to recover. And it's happened to me, and I've had to pull back that ego. And if you can't avoid the hills on your easy runs and you're training at a low heart rate, the best option is simply walk up the hills. And trust me, your aerobic system doesn't know the difference between running and walking. It only understands effort and intensity. If walking keeps your heart rate in the right zone, you're still getting a great workout. Maybe even a better one because you're training at the right intensity for building endurance. Knowing your maximum heart rate and your threshold heart rate can help you set your training zones the right way. When your zones are accurate, you can train at the correct intensity and get the best results. And look, in an ideal world, you would test your maximum heart rate in a lab during, a VO2 max test. The physiologist puts you on a treadmill and has you do this ramp test. And this means the speed or incline increases step by step until you reach your limit. There's also another test where small blood samples are taken while you run at higher and higher speeds. And this helps measure when the lactate in your blood starts to build up. From this data, the physiologist can find your threshold heart rate and set your training zones accurately. Look, this may sound great and all, but most runners, we don't have the access to a lab, or we don't have the money. The good news is you can estimate your maximum heart rate and threshold heart rate using just a running watch and a heart rate monitor. For the test, use a chest strap, heart rate monitor if you can. Chest straps are usually more accurate than wrist-based sensors, and you'll also need a flat running route or a track at a high school type thing. Now let's start with the maximum heart rate. Your maximum heart rate is the fastest your heart can beat safely while pumping blood around your body. To reach it, you'll need to work extremely hard during this test. The good news is the hardest part doesn't last long. Start with a proper warm-up jog for about 15 minutes. Okay, that's what I've done. Slowly build that pace from light jogging into about a 5K race pace and add a few short, faster efforts and some dynamic stretching to get ready. Now for the main test, run hard for 2 minutes, then walk for about a minute to recover and repeat 4 times. That's 4 sets of 2 minutes hard, running with 1 minute of walking between each sets. When I say run hard, I don't mean like all out sprint like you're Usain Bolt. Running at the fastest pace you can control for the full 2 minutes. After the workout, check your heart rate data. Look at the 4 hard efforts and find the highest heart rate that you reached. That is a number that could be your maximum heart rate. Again, it's not fully science. Look, I'm not an expert on how to do this, but this is what I've done. You don't need to do the test often. Maximum heart rate doesn't change that much, though it does slowly decrease as you get older. Once a year is more than enough, from what I've been told. Now, your lactate threshold heart rate is different. This number can change based on your training, and it's actually a great way to measure progress. If your threshold heart rate increases over time, it means you can run at a higher intensity before the lactate builds up in your blood. And this simple term, you'll be able to run harder for longer before your legs start to feel too heavy and tired. One way to test your threshold heart rate is with a 30-minute threshold test. And this, it's not as intense as the max heart rate test, but the effort was going to last much longer. So start with a 15-minute progressive warm-up, right? Begin with easy jogging, slowly build up the pace to where your body is ready to work hard. For the test, you're going to run hard for 30 minutes straight. This is not a sprint, but it should feel challenging from the start. For most runners, the pace will slightly be faster than their 10K race pace. And the goal is to run as hard as you can and sustain for 30 minutes. After the run, review your heart rate data and you'll need 2 numbers. Your heart rate at the first 10 minutes into the test and your heart rate at the end of the 30 minutes. Add those 2 numbers together and divide by 2, and the result will be your average heart rate for that effort. And the average number is the lactate threshold heart rate. You can then use that to set your training zones accordingly. Look, these are just some of the things you need to know, but there are many others. Look, I'll cover these in a couple of other videos, but they include things such as stress, sleep, volume, time. Look, sleep and stress do matter. Poor sleep and life stress can elevate your heart rate, just like heat and dehydration. Heart rate varies day to day. Some days your zone pace will be slower. That doesn't mean that you're losing fitness. It means, look, you're just a human being. Distance and time are also part of the process, but due to time, both of these will improve the more consistent that you are. So here's what I would say it really comes down to. Low heart rate training is not about running slow. It's about training smart. When you control your intensity, you build the engine. You strengthen your heart. You improve your ability to burn fat for fuel. You increase the number of mitochondria in your muscles. You build endurance from the inside out. Look, that doesn't happen when you're constantly pushing too hard. If you can take anything from this video, let it be this. Accuracy and patience, consistency matter. Make sure your heart rate zones are set correctly. Test your maximum heart rate, test your threshold heart rate. Look, don't guess, figure it out, do the test, right? Then protect your easy days. Hydrate properly. Make sure you get the electrolytes in there. Run during the cooler times of the day. Control your breathing. Walk the hills if you need to. Use a run-walk strategy if your heart rate keeps climbing. I still use it today. And understand something important. Cardiac drift will still happen. That's going to be always normal. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is managing easy efforts so you can stay aerobic as long as possible. But here's one more thing runners often miss. Progress in heart rate training shows up quietly. It does not feel dramatic. But one day, you'll look down at your watch and you'll realize that you're running 30 seconds per kilometer or mile faster at the same heart rate. And that's when you know that your engine has grown. Stay consistent. Don't chase pace on easy days. Let speed be the result of strong aerobic fitness, not forced effort. Slow down now so you can run stronger, longer, and faster, and trust the process. Like I always say, get out and run. On one of my videos, I got a comment, and it kind of made me think. And I went, hold on a minute. On this channel, I've always said I want to be accountable to my running. I want to document the joys of running to help people become a runner, to stay a runner, to improve as a runner, enjoy what running has to offer, all the benefits and everything else, and all the ups and the downs, right? I want to document all of that. And I think I lost my way over the last couple of years. And I want to say that I'm sorry. I lost my way. So much has happened in my life over the last couple of years with people getting ill, people passing away. So much illness, so much hate in the world. And I pick up on that. And it's hard. I don't know if you've ever known an empath, but I have a lot of empaths in my life. I mean, look it up, Google it. And we pick up on a lot of people's energy. And we kind of, if we're not protecting ourselves, we absorb that energy. And I've been having so much negative energy coming my way. And my defenses have been down. I haven't been able to kind of keep it away, like this little force field around my body. I haven't been able to do it. And because of that, I've allowed so much of it to penetrate. And I feel like I've been just like a Star Trek, right? Like you're in the Enterprise and you're getting bombarded by the Borg or the Klingons or whatever, right? And, you know, the ship is getting hit and your defenses are down and then it's rendered useless. That's kind of what I feel like's been coming up my way. I've been hit, right? Not hit physically, but hit psychologically, right? Just battled. And so I lost my way and, you know, I started trying to make videos for the sake of making videos for views and for clicks. And it wasn't until I looked at that. I mean, I'm always transparent, right? Which is why I shared how much the channel makes and stuff. I've done videos in the past about that. But I think I lost my way. So I'm trying to go back to more of a storytelling channel about me as a person who is running, who is trying to improve his life while documenting it with the ups, the downs, sideways, right? Just everything about it. Because that's where I started. And I veered off on so many different paths because I've been lost in so many ways. And it wasn't until I got that comment that it really made me realize, okay, I understand. I understand what's been going on. I've had time to reflect on it. And because I am now reflecting on it, I'm talking about it. And it's something that I just wanted to share. Because for you who watch my videos, maybe you understand a little bit about what I'm talking about. And I think at the end of the day, the conversation needs to be had. Why do we do the things that we do? I think it's important to have that honest conversation with yourself. And like I always say, get out and run. Once a runner, always a runner.
You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. And who cares if you might mess it up? You're stronger than the others think. And who cares if you might mess it up? Go ahead and
I find that things really work well running downhill. You know, hike up to the top and then run down. It makes a world of difference, specifically if I'm training for a trail run.